So this granular synthesis example takes a incoming sound wave and plays back little tiny snippets of it, and you can control the parameters and the way it plays it back with these controls over here. So the first thing we have to do is we have to load a sound file in. Probably the easiest way to do that is to click replace and then just navigate to a sound file on your hard drive, and I'm selected the sound file right here. You can also click record here and record yourself making sound. And you just have to make sure that the sound getting in there is loud enough so you can see it on the scope. So if I click record right now, I can see what's going on is I'm not getting a lot of sound out of my microphone, so it's very quiet right here, which is fine. You can deal with that, but for the most part, it's nicer if the waveform is a little bit bigger. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to stop recording, and then I'm going to scroll over here, and I'm going to just increase the volume. Oops, and I realize you're not going to be able to hear this unless I change my audio settings. All right. That's me talking into um, the microphone, but I'm going to go and replace this with a singing waveform because this is the one I like to use. So remember, the way that granular synthesis works is it takes the sound form and chops it up into a little tiny segment, and then it just plays that little tiny segment over and over and over again. That little tiny segment is called a grain, right? So if I'm going to go here, I'm going to turn this amplitude down. And just play a single grain. So that's a single grain with these settings. If I make my duration shorter, and then depending on where I put my cursor, you can see it's sort of scrolling through here as I scrub along the waveform. That's a little snippet of grain of sound right there. So when I click on this button, I'm creating a whole bunch of those grains. And the amount of grains I'm creating are determined by the grain rate. So here's a short grain rate, and here's little individual clips. Notice that there's no attempt to compensate for making a continuous stream of sound, right? It's just generating a grain at a fixed rate. If the grain is longer, then they're going to start to overlap. And that overlapping of grains to make a continuous sound is characteristic of granular synthesis. And the amount of overlap will have a big impact on the quality of sound. So as I increase the grain rate, I'm going to get lots of layers of sound overlapping. Almost sounds like a reverb or delay or something like that. And then when I stop, then it kind of freezes at a moment in time. So remember, the neat thing about granular synthesis is because we're not changing how fast we're playing the audio back, the frequency of the sound never changes. And we can go backwards as well, which can be a lot of fun. So the orange bars here are the basic parameters. So the amplitude of the grains, the pitch of the grains if you want to transpose the grains. This is the length of a single grain, right? So if I just trigger a single grain, that's quite a long grain. More typical to have short grains, like that. We have the location of the buffer, which we can see we can scrub through, and we can see sort of the cursor and the little waveform move as we scrub through. And then this is the grain rate, which is just how fast grains are getting triggered. I think that's pretty much everything you need to know to work with this patch.